What's going on, you guys? Nicholas Moore here, and in this video, I'm going to break down for you the biggest elephant in the room as far as the cybersecurity industry, and that's the job market right now. The job market, I mean, if you've been watching any of these YouTube videos that are going on from other cybersecurity YouTubers, you probably have heard the big gripe. It's the job market. No one's able to get jobs. There's a lot of complaints about it, blah, blah, blah. And to be honest, I kind of went cold for a year because I wanted to figure out what was going on with AI. You keep hearing, oh, AI is going to take everyone's jobs, and you know, how is this going to work? And then you see companies actually building AI tools and building AI agents that are supposed to act as security professionals, and it's been kind of interesting. But I don't believe that we are completely cooked. I think that we just have to evolve. And I think this version of technology is one that we have never seen before, which is why so many people are concerned, and rightfully so. But if we have the data and we are pursuing the right information, I do believe that everyone will be just fine. And with this AI thing that's coming out, I think that now might be a better time more than ever to actually get into cybersecurity. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be sharing a resource in a few minutes, sharing my screen and walking you through the data that helped me get a better understanding of where this industry is going. And we're going to go ahead and switch to that right now. Okay, so what you guys see here is a website, a good resource that I'm going to drop a link down in the description, and it is called CyberSeek. Now, you might have heard someone else talking about CyberSeek before. CyberSeek is it's like a data not aggregation, but it's a data site that specifically talks about skills and jobs that are in demand, skill sets that are in demand, and all things kind of cyber job related, right? That's why we call it CyberSeek. And over the last couple of years, this site has changed and the demands have changed. As a matter of fact, I believe the data on this website updates every 3 months. So if you're ever curious to know where the job market is going or what the latest skills that are in demand or certifications that are in demand within cyber, which does tend to change, this is one of the great resources that you can turn to get that kind of information. Now, a little bit about CyberSeek and this site. CyberSeek has collaborated or is being sponsored by CompTIA. CompTIA is one of the great certification providers in the IT space, and one of the first. I think they opened up back in the 80s or 70s or something like that, when computers were starting to become a big deal. And we needed vendor agnostic certification providers, and that's what CompTIA has become. Now, CompTIA, I should say, and CyberSeek have partnered with other data aggregation sites, these survey sites, these research companies that do research on skills and demand for across the world, across the United States, etc., and have put all this information together. And they do this every couple of months, where they will release this information out to the public so that we as the consumers or the practitioners can see what is in demand and what we need to be learning and where organizations are seeking out new talent, right? And this is super, super helpful. This is a hack, really, for anyone who wants to be successful, because if you don't know what the demand, what the interest is of the organizations that are hiring, how are you going to be able to provide that value that they need and in turn you need to get the job, right? We don't get paid unless we provide value. It's a transaction. That's how we get the money, right? So this is a great place to figure out where that value is going to be needed. So anyways, that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it. This is cyberseek.com, and it's really cool because this whole thing is very much interactive. You know, you can kind of click around and you can see the data for each individual state. Notice that the things change when I select California. We can see these tables change down here, Texas, tables change, Florida, etc., right? And so if I deselect that, we can see supply and demand ratio. So this is talking about available cybersecurity workers relative to employer demand, All right, so national average is going to be 74%. Total online job openings, these are job postings for cybersecurity related positions. Okay, that's 514,359, which is less than what I should say the overall job pools that we have seen in prior years. Prior years, I think we heard like 700 or 800,000 job openings. At one point, it was like a million. And so now we're down to 500,000, but these are openings. Okay, these are openings. Now, I know some of the internet trolls are going to leave comments down below, probably, hopefully not, but it is definitely a possibility, saying that there's a lot of fake jobs that are being posted. That may be true. Okay, I do have friends that are recruiters, and they do tell me things that companies are doing. But I do not believe that the majority of this 500,000 jobs in cybersecurity are fake jobs. I think that's, sometimes organizations just forget, or they're trying to appease stockholders, shareholders, and make it seem like they are still growing when they really don't have the budget. Anything can happen, right? But I think the overall consensus is, if we kind of look at the general idea here, organizations do need security professionals that can protect their company, especially with AI, especially when hackers have the ability to use AI, or these companies want to embed AI and have no idea what they're doing or what kind of risk that exposes them to. We need cybersecurity professionals that can understand, or at least be closer to understanding, what security risks and compliance risk would the organization be exposing themselves to. That's what we do as security practitioners. We analyze risk, we mitigate risk, etc. Right? So I'm going to get off my soapbox. So 514,000 job openings right there across the nation, which is pretty good. I don't think it's that big of a dip like a lot of us want to believe it is. Okay, and we need to try to be hopeful and have faith in that. Total employed in the workforce. So we're seeing 1.3 million total employed people within the cybersecurity space. That's right there. And, let me kind of go back to the map here. We can see the total job openings by state, right? We've got, in the dark blue, we've got Florida, Texas, Virginia, Illinois, New York, Colorado, and California. And then we've got Washington close to getting in the dark blue. Kind of makes sense. I mean, if you really think about it, these are tech hubs. Denver's a tech hub. Colorado Springs is a tech hub. Or Boulder. I'm sorry, I don't know about Colorado Springs, but I think Boulder is a tech hub. California is littered with tech all throughout the coast. Texas has a couple of locations. Florida, Miami is a big spot for this, and Tampa is too. And Orlando, I should say. Virginia, you've got the DC area, Maryland's pretty hot as well. So it kind of makes sense that we're seeing such these saturated states. And what this really means when we talk about, total job openings is we're seeing 19,000 to 53,000 openings in cybersecurity within whatever state that we're looking at. So Florida, Texas, Colorado, you can kind of see the numbers as I hover the mouse over. So very, very big demands. And that's a good thing for us. Now, one thing I really want to point out here is that what I've noticed and what I've heard from my friends that are recruiters is that a lot of these companies are looking to bring people back into the office. So gone are the days when you could just apply and easily get a remote job. Not to say remote jobs don't exist. I still hear of them. I still get opportunities to take these positions, and so do many of my friends. That's not the point. The point is it's becoming increasingly harder for us to have a remote job because companies have signed on these big monolithic lease agreements with big property management companies and what have you for commercial property, and they need to fill those buildings. It also helps with productivity and just making sure that they have a good pulse on their team, and so it makes sense. It's unfortunate for us though, because now we have to go back to the office, and after having a couple of years of being able to work from home in our PJs, this sucks, right? But keep in mind, prior to the pandemic, this was the norm. right? I didn't work remote. I had to work in an office, and many companies are going back to that. So just keep that in mind. You want to be willing to relocate if necessary, and try to negotiate relocation packages when you get a job offer, at least where they can cover some of the expenses, right? That way you can take on that position. All right, so let's go ahead and kind of scroll down here. Now we've got the supply and demand ratio trend. We can see that the demand is getting higher. Job opening trend, we can see that it's actually kind of stabilizing. Let's kind of zoom in here. So in 2010, we started with a 0%. This is when cyber was kind of new. But then after it became a coined term, an actual mainstream discipline or job, we started to see a spike. So 30% average in job openings, 35, 46. By 2015, we're at 69%, and then just kind of continue to grow until about the pandemic time, which was 2020 at 80% demand. And then the entire world had to go remote, which means that security vulnerabilities just skyrocketed because everything needed to be digital and online, and we needed security practitioners out the wazoo. Now, just to jog your memory, okay? This is probably when you were sitting at home watching TV commercials and scrolling on Instagram, seeing tons of ads saying, hey, you should try this career in cybersecurity because it is booming and you can work from home and you can make a six-figure salary. And all of those things were true, and in some ways are still true, but have changed slightly, okay? Because as we look at the data here, we're showing 2020, 80% growth, 2021, 83% growth, 2022, 87% growth. That's almost 100%, right? We're getting there. And then all of a sudden, 23, it goes down to 81. And then in 2024, 78. And then 2025, we are what looks like 78 to, to 80%, right? Kind of normalizing. The demand is still there, but things are changing in the direction. And since 2025, we've seen this massive adoption of AI, which is changing the direction. So what I am interested in doing is kind of watching these trends, looking at what other researchers are putting out, like Gartner and Forrester's and IAC Square and CompTIA directly. I want to see what everyone is seeing as far as the data metrics, because I do believe that with the adoption of AI, we're going to see a rapid growth of cybersecurity demand. However, I think my hypothesis is that we have to look at new skill sets. We have to see what the actual skill sets are, and we have to be willing to relocate and follow the trends, because I think the trends are changing slightly. AI is going to expose herself to new risk. If you look at Claudebot, that's done a marvelous job at doing that. And companies are very eager to adopt AI agents so that they can save money on personnel. However, I think it's still too soon, and they don't know what all the data integrations and what risk that open themselves up to. That's where security is going to come in. So I think we're going to see a lot of demand here. Okay. So if we continue to scroll down, we can see one thing that's kind of cool is CyberSeek has opened up, their job openings. They follow the NICE framework. I'll create a video on that so you guys can understand what that is too. The NICE framework kind of breaks down a different categorizations. So we've got oversight and governance. And here you've got auditing, you've got secure project management. Let me pick another one that's a little bit easier to explain. No, let's not pick that one. Okay. All right, so that was protection and defense. And here we've got vulnerability analysis, infrastructure support, incident response, insider threat analysis, and threat analysis. So this is like your security operations team, right? And you're going to have specialists that kind of corner themselves within here. And a lot of practitioners have to understand all of this. So this is a very common thing, but this is a very cool thing because it helps you understand how many jobs are being categorized within each of these buckets, or at least have the skill sets within these buckets. I know we're at 500,000 job openings, but out of the 500,000 job openings, many of those job openings are going to contain these types of skills. So these are some skill sets that you are going to want to focus on. Now, personally, I didn't love leveraging this. I wouldn't love leveraging this entirely. And I'm going to create another video specifically on skill sets to focus on. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure to do that and hit the bell icon, because that video is going to be coming out in a couple of days. I've already found the resource. I've already looked at the data, and I'm excited to kind of talk to you guys about it, because it's going to be super valuable, especially if you are looking at getting into cybersecurity or trying to figure out how to navigate your career right now, because this is an interesting time. More on that later, but let's go ahead and dig into this. Credentials. Okay. Y'all know how I feel about credentials. I personally have a ton of them, but I can't tell you enough that not all credentials carry the same return on the investment, both in money and in time. Credentials are good at teaching you the framework of what skill sets to learn. And some of these certification courses actually help you with adopting those skills. And they also help with landing a interview. But that's about as far as it goes. If you can't speak well in the interview, if you can't, talk about what you know or what was on the certification, and you can't pass the interview, you're never going to get the job. And then what the heck was all that for, right? You just kind of wasted your time. So certifications are what they are, but they are still valuable. They do show that you are growing, and that's a good sign. And to employers, that means a lot. Let's talk a little bit about certifications, okay? So over here, what I'm doing is I'm flipping between certification holders, which was this dark blue, and then openings requesting certifications. Now, you all already know the jokes about this. I'm sure you've heard it. CISSP, entry level, blah, blah, blah. We've got 82,494 job openings requesting someone with a CISSP. I already know a small fraction of them are going to be entry level, which we've heard the jokes. But let's cast that to the side for a second, okay? CISSP, I think that there is a very high demand for it, and I think that it's rightfully so, right? I think we're entering into a time right now where we need more experienced practitioners, or just people that really know their stuff. It doesn't mean that you have to have a ton of experience. It doesn't mean that if you're brand new, you can't get a job. I'm not saying that at all. I think you can, but I think that many companies are just like, man, this tech stuff is getting pretty hard with AI. It's just getting a little interesting with AI. And we really need some experienced people. And I'm seeing that firsthand. Like, they just really want someone that really knows their stuff. And it doesn't mean that you have to have 20 years experience. It just means that you need to be confident in what you know. And so if you've been working on this for a year, let's say you've been working on Azure security, right? You just love Azure, you love Microsoft, and you're trying to get into cybersecurity, so you focus on Microsoft Azure security. I think that's great. If you spent a year on that, and you're working on a job on the side, but at night and on the weekends, you're focusing on getting the certifications, developing skills, building out projects, I think that you have a very good chance of landing a job that pays well, maybe six figures, maybe beyond six figures, because you are knowledgeable and you can solve problems. I think at the end of the day, that's what matters. It's not like you got to have 5 years experience. It just means that you need to have the good skills, the good credentials, and some good connections to get you plugged in. All right. So let me kind of scroll down here. So let's focus back on the certs. Job openings, requesting certifications. So CISSP is one of them. Yeah. And there's a lot of them in there. A lot of job openings requesting it because they need experienced practitioners. I think at the end of the day, that's truly what they're needing. The other thing here is Security Plus. That's the other certification. Again, they just want someone that's invested the time and energy to understand cybersecurity and took some time to get the certification. I think Security Plus is a great entry-level cert to get. Yes, it's very general. No, it's not going to help you land a job right out the gate. Like, it's not like this is all you need and then you're done. It is going to help, but it's not the golden ticket. That's what I'm trying to say, okay? Security Plus or the ISC Square SSCP. If you Google that one, it's not here in this list, but the SSCP is a comparable one to the Security Plus. I'll show you guys a DoD framework document that actually lists out some certifications that you can pursue. We'll do that in a future video, but you can see Security Plus and SSCP are kind of comparable. So I'll talk to you more about that. But Security Plus is great, and we see 70,000 job openings from there. From there, we've got certified information systems auditor. We've got the systems manager. We've got GX certifications, which are extremely expensive. And then we've got the privacy professional, which is kind of a newer one. I don't know a lot of people that have it. I personally don't have it, but I have one boss that had it before in the past, and that was it. And that's it, guys. Now, a couple of other things I want to show you within this CyberSeek dashboard, which I think were pretty cool. Not the greatest, because when it comes to job titles, companies name people however they want. But here you can see we've got our feeder roles right here on the left. So let's say you came from a financial risk and analysis, or you came from an IT support background. It kind of gives you an idea of where you can go next with your career, right? And as you can see, as I kind of hop in between, these things change. So if I want to say starting level, I want to be a cybercrime analyst because I used to work in a bank, then it helps me understand, okay, so this is from cybercrime analyst, I can become a cybersecurity analyst. And then I can evolve into these other things here. And it kind of gives me some different skills, right? So you got your starting level, mid-level, and advanced level skills, right? It's just some kind of cool stuff that you guys can click around and explore. I thought it was pretty interesting. And then here we've got some certification and training maps just to help you with getting an idea of where you can go for training. There's a lot of different places. You guys can get free resources. You can go for paid resources. Everyone's different. It all depends on your situation. And it depends on how fast you're trying to achieve results, right? So definitely click around here and explore and see what what's the numbers, what are the demands for the area that you live in. So I would select your state and kind of figure that out. Like if I lived in Texas, I'd click on Texas, just kind of start studying this data and try to get an understanding of what is going on, what's the big demand here. I think it's really helpful stuff. So, okay, so hopefully after we've seen some of this data, you might feel a little bit better. I know it did help me feel better because it's been kind of crazy, right? And I know many times when we're getting hit with adversity and we're getting a little bit concerned because we're seeing the layoff numbers, it's scary. I mean, it's kind of like what we saw with the pandemic, these big, scary numbers of bad things happening in the world. And it just feels like everything is going to go down the toilet. I totally get it. But here's what I think. I think that if we continue to work hard and we continue to build our network and we put ourselves out there, everything is going to be fine. I know that is contrary to what many IT professionals want to do because not many people want to put themselves out there. It's a scary thing. But guys, trust me, the demand is going to be out there. AI can't take over everything. And if all else fails, AI cannot govern AI. I don't think the humans will like that too much. And so there's always cybersecurity governance. It's kind of a joke. But in all truthfulness, right, there's a lot of skill sets that need to be in place in order for AI to even function. And I'm going to create a video on that because I've been doing research trying to understand even more detail on what skill sets specifically we need to be focusing on in order to succeed going into 2026 and 2027 and all the years going after this with this new adoption of AI. I don't think AI is going anywhere. I think it's here to stay. But I think that over the next couple of years, we're going to start to see some laws and practices in place to protect people. And we as security professionals need to understand what those are so that we can be employed and we can succeed through these changes. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you guys succeed. And so if this video was helpful, or if you have any questions, please drop them down below and I will make sure to respond to your questions and your comments. I thank you guys for watching this video up until this point, and I'll see you guys in the next video.